So thank you for subscribing to the Better Indicators. This short video is going to show you how to install the indicators on TradeStation. You should be watching the video on your account page here in Emini-Watch, and this page has 5 sections. First of all, the installation video that you're watching. Second, the installer for TradeStation 10 that you download using this button, and your Emini-Watch subscriber number. This is super important. You need to input this number when you're running the installation process to make sure that your indicators are part of our licensing database. In case you run into any problems, we've got some possible installation errors explained here. We've also got a getting started video that explains how the indicators work and what to look for entering positions and taking profits. We've also got some useful downloads that you might want to take a look at, and we have the release notes that show what's changed in the different versions of the indicators. The last release that we did was in May 2024, fairly major release. We hadn't needed to update the indicators in a couple of years. Everything's explained in that video. And we also have previous release notes that you can look at to see what changes have been made to the indicators throughout the years. For TradeStation users, we have open easy language code. You'll only need that open code if you are familiar with easy language and want to modify the indicators for your particular use, or maybe build them into a system. And then lastly, we've got a section on your account details that shows your subscription, the details that we have for you, and there's a button below this if you want to update any of those details or cancel your account. So we're going to go back up to the installer for TradeStation 10 and just download that. There we go, we've downloaded that. Now, if you happen to use TradeStation on a Mac using Parallels, you have to make sure that the installation file is on the Windows side of your computer. So if you've downloaded this file to the Mac side of your computer, you need to move it to, for example, a downloads file on the Windows side. Now the next thing you need to do is to go to your TradeStation and close that down. We right click on the installer file, run as administrator, bypass this warning, and it'll take you through to the setup process. Click next. We've got a licensing agreement that you need to click I agree to, and this is where you input your Emini-Watch subscriber number. This isn't your TradeStation customer number, this is your Emini-Watch subscriber number. So that number you've taken from your account page, type that in there. If you're updating the indicators, your existing Emini-Watch subscriber number will already be there. Click apply. Once it's opened TradeStation, you'll see this import wizard. Make sure that the function and indicator boxes are both ticked. We click next, and this is the list of all the functions and indicators that will be imported into your TradeStation. We've got Better Momentum and its function, we've got Better Pro-Am and its function, Better Sine Wave and its function, and then lastly 3 files, Combo and Overbought Oversold. These are just included for legacy purposes. There are some old indicators that if we didn't include these files would be broken. So we've chosen to add those to the installer just to make sure that everything from previous versions continues to work. But new subscribers should ignore these. These are just there for legacy purposes. And then we click Finish. I already have versions of the indicators and functions on my system, so it's asking me to overwrite them. Click Yes to all and click OK to the functions. And there we go, it goes through a quick verify all files and the process is done. Click OK. Go back to the installer and click Finish to close that up. We're in TradeStation and we'll have access to the indicators now. So I'm going to walk you through the process of setting up a template for the indicators. I've just got a simple chart of the E-mini at ES with an equals 106XC. I happen to change the rollover date from the default date that TradeStation gives you. That's all that information is doing. It's a 500 tip bar chart, and I'm going to create 2 versions of this. So copy paste again and then arrange vertically, so we've got them side by side. So on the left hand side I'm going to add the volume indicators, which are Better Pro-Am and Better Momentum. So I right click on that, go to Studies, Add Study, and I'm going to select Better Momentum 2, Better Pro-Am, and I'm going to go down and also add my vertical timeline indicator. Where is it? Here we go. Because I like having that shows the beginnings and the ends of the days and the weeks on my charts, and I'm going to click OK. There we go. On the right hand chart we're going to add studies, and here we're going to select again vertical line time, which is useful for showing the beginnings and the ends of the days, and then back to Better Sine Wave and Better Sine Wave 2. I'm holding down the control key in order to select multiple indicators, and I'm going to click OK, and there we go. I'm using the default settings for both these windows, and what I like to do is to make sure that the chart windows are linked. Their symbols are linked and their interval are linked here. And then useful thing to do is to save these as templates. So right click, Studies, save the study group, and this group here is Better Momentum 2, which is beneath the price bars, Better Pro-Am, and then the vertical timeline. And I like calling that, for example, BPA, Better Pro-Am plus Better Momentum. I already have versions saved here, but I'm just going to click on that name, click OK. It's going to ask me to replace it. I'm going to click Yes. And then on this chart, I'm going to right click, Studies, save study group. Again, call this Better Sine Wave, BSW. It's got Better Sine Wave 2, and the vertical line time indicator. Click OK. It's asking me to overwrite the version I have. I'll click Yes, and there we go. And so I can go to any chart. So for example, on this chart, right click, Studies, and then add a study group, and I can put the Better Sine Wave indicators over on this side, or I can change this, Studies, add a study group, go to Better Pro-Am plus Better Momentum, click OK. I've got replace the existing studies and strategies ticked, and click OK. So there we go. That template of those indicators can be called on any charts. I'm going to go back. I'm going to make this the left-hand chart and the right-hand chart because I like seeing the volume indicators on the left and the price indicators on the right. Now, one of the things I like to do is disable the indicators down beneath here, and I like adding 2 new time frames to these charts. So I'm going to copy paste another 2 versions of the charts, and then I'm going to arrange these. The symbol's going to be the same between each of these, but these intervals are going to be different. So on this lower time frame charts, I like having the 500 tick bar chart here, but on the left hand side I like having the higher time frame. So we multiply by a factor of 3 to 1500. Always have 5 bars back, click OK, and that'll give me 2 1500 tick bar charts here on the left hand side and 2 500 tick bar charts here. All the symbols are the same between each of these charts. The intervals are linked between these charts on the right, and then these intervals are linked between these charts on the left. Now this is correct. We've got Better Pro-Am, Better Momentum, these panels above. Better Sine Wave is correct here, but down here I need to change this to Better Sine Wave chart. So we click the template and click OK, and then switch this off as disabled. So there we go. So that's the setup I like to see. Sometimes I like to see the detail of Better Sine Wave or Better Momentum, and you can always just right click on a chart, and because it's sitting there in the background, Better Sine Wave 2, but not enabled at the moment, we just click on that to enable it, and we can see that information on that chart in a little bit more detail to try and anticipate turning points. Same thing for Better Momentum here. We can go to the strategies and enable Better Momentum 2, which is turned off at the moment. Click on that, and again allows us to see some detail of Better Momentum. So I can have them on the chart ready to go, but I can disable them at any time by just right clicking on it like that. So there we go, that is my template. Now on all of these charts I'm using the default values for all of these indicators. On the Getting Started video we'll go through the settings for the indicators, but the default values work for all markets and all time frames. However, if you are an E-mini day trader, sometimes it's useful to make an adjustment to the Better Pro-Am indicator. So the E-mini is almost unique in all futures markets in that the end of day trading is dominated by extremely high average trade size. You see here at the end of the day we've got blue professional bars showing the professional activity, and the background is in blue as well, showing that these are big pro bars. That shows that the average trade size is super high. Same thing going on at the end of the day here, big pro bars, super high average trade size at the end of the trading day here with this vertical yellow dotted line. And the calculations of Better Pro-Am and the average trade size are skewed by this activity at the end of the day, so much so that it distorts the calculation of professional bars at the beginning of the next day. One of the things you can do to adjust for that is go to the settings for Better Pro-Am, click down here, click Customize, and you see at the bottom of the options down here we have Exclude Time. It's set to false, but you can set this to true and it will exclude trade that happens between 2:50 p.m. and 7:30 the next morning in the calculations of professional and amateur bars. So if we click OK on that, we've now made an adjustment, and what you'll see is at the end of that trading day all of those blue professional bars with a big pro background have been negated there. They're no longer there. But what we have seen at the beginning of the next day is the average trade size is super high into this high. The background's in blue, showing it's big pro bars, And we didn't see that in the previous chart where we had all of the activity happening at the end of the day. So if we ignore that ultra high average trade size at the end of the day, it gives us better signals for day trading the E-mini. If you're swing trading the E-mini, you don't need to make this adjustment, but if you're day trading, it is quite helpful to do that. So apart from that one change, that's the only change I would make to the default settings. So there we go. I hope that was helpful. We ran through the installation of the indicators on TradeStation, adding them to a chart, and also creating a template that you can use on any chart you like. So the next thing I'd suggest you do is scroll down to the Getting Started video, where we explain each of the indicators, how they're calculated, and how to generate signals for both entry and exit using them. And we also go through the input options for the indicators if you want to change the look and feel of your charts.